Morning, good people. We will start at 11:30. Good morning once again, good people. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're still feeling inspired after our two first powerful sessions. Our next session is all about turning ideas into action. And who better to guide us in that other than Mrs. Kopane Mashon? Kopane is a LinkedIn consultant, a personal branding coach, and an entrepreneur. She also ran her two successful businesses online. She is very passionate about helping people use digital platforms to create opportunities and grow their influence. So her session from idea to action, we'll explore creative jobs of the future and how to turn your concept, even in platforms like TikTok, into viable careers as well as business ventures. Good people, kindly give a warm welcome for Kopano. Is Kopano available? Do we have our speaker? Has our speaker joined in? It looks like our speaker hasn't joined in. Let's give her a minute or two for her to join in. Morning, Kopan. How are you doing? Are you good?
Morning, guys. Morning. I'm just trying to get my camera to switch on. It's being a bit of an issue. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can I confirm that everybody can hear Miss Kopan? Can I see a thumbs up? Yes. I see one thumbs up. Oh, second one. Okay. Looks like everybody can be able to hear you. I see
Fantastic.
there's even a hand from Gerald.
All right. So I can't actually put my camera on. I don't know why, but it's okay. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to get started. Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen and then we can begin.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, finally my camera's on. Hi, everyone.
Yes, now we can see you and we can see your slide.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, the floor is yours.
I've just shared my presentation. Let me know if you guys can see it on your side. Can you guys see it?
Yes, I see a lot of thumbs up. It looks like everybody can be able to see it.
All right, super guys. Thank you so much for your patience. Just needed to get the technicalities out the way. So today I'll be your facilitator for the day. We're going to be talking about the creative jobs of the future, how to prepare and navigate opportunities as a graduate, right? And this is a part of the work readiness and entrepreneurship webinar. I hope you guys have had a good start to it as well. So this will be for an hour, and essentially we're going to go into, the creative jobs of the future. Okay, I'm just going to move swiftly ahead. So today's presentation, we're going to mainly be looking at what creative roles are, understanding how it actually also shapes the future, learning the skills needed to thrive in a creative economy, but also sharing some of my stories with what I do, discovering actionable strategies and steps that will assist you to actually secure creative opportunities if you decide that you want to go that route. And then finally, building confidence in personal branding and portfolio development. So this is some of the stuff we're going to touch on. And this is honestly just the foundation, right? We're scratching the surface so that you guys can leave this presentation or webinar to think around whether or not this is something for you. And if it is, luckily, I would be the person to at least assist you with some foundational thinking and some of the questions you'll start asking yourself regarding, the creative jobs of the future, and if you see yourself actually doing them. So before we begin, some house rules, I thought I should just introduce myself. So as you guys know, I'm Kopano Moshwana. So I am a personal branding and LinkedIn consultant on an individual level, and this is the capacity that I'm in today. But outside of that, I actually run 2 online businesses. So I'm very much in the creative space as well. So I was definitely the best person to have to actually just share my experience. And hopefully you guys get to learn a thing or two from me today. And those businesses, the first one is a digital marketing agency that I've been running for the past 8 years. We turned 8 on the 1st of August, actually. So funny enough, I started KPRM when I was in varsity. I was in my 2nd year going into my final year of doing a BCom in marketing at the time. And then fast forward to 2019, I then created Sorted, which is a virtual assistance company. And yet again, another creative business that I started online. So a lot of my experience has been in marketing, but mainly being a tech forward, a digital driven, company, as well as just thinking in terms of the different things that I've provided and created in the past. So I'm hoping that through my experience and building, I will be able to assist you guys and just basically share my story as we go. Okay, great. All right, so I think we should start with a bit of an icebreaker. So with my sessions, I love to make them very interactive. I don't want to just give out information and then you guys have a theory overload, but not much of understanding and interaction. So we're going to start with a bit of an icebreaker. So what did you guys want to be when you were 10 years old? I mean, think about it. I think a lot of you guys, of course, are graduates or about to start your journey after varsity. When you were 10, what are some of the jobs that you guys thought you wanted to be before your whole, varsity journey? Just a few questions I don't mind to take. There's a reason for this, and we'll get into it quite swiftly. So I see Fortunate said a teacher. Great. Any other takers? Doctor, author. Okay. A lawyer. Police, nice. Social worker, firefighter. Okay. Pilot, nice. Okay, amazing. Thank you. Oh, astronaut. That's quite exciting, and a writer. Okay, amazing. So I see there's quite a bit coming in, but that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Film director. Okay, that's nice. Business owner. Nice. So the whole reason why I'm asking this, guys, is that I want you to understand, especially for the people that have sort of chosen very traditional jobs, right? when you were 10, I mean, that was a long time ago, of course, Felium. We're looking at about 10, 15 years back, and jobs looked a certain way, while also, just give me a second, guys. 2 seconds. Sorry. Thank you so much for that, guys. Yes, so as I was saying, so a lot of the jobs were traditional, right? And a lot has happened since then. And this is just a re-emphasis to say that the world as we know it has changed so much, from jobs, from how we look at the world, and also how we apply our knowledge and application to actually get, opportunities and in an exchange for certain monetary value, right? So I thought this was just a nice task so that you guys can sort of understand that, wow, if I look at the current jobs, which we'll get into in a second, and where I wanted to be when I was 10 or what I wanted to be when I was 10, it's very different, right? It's very, very different. But thank you so much for just, initiating in that exercise. Let's get straight into it. So now we're going to go into the rise of the creative economy, right? It's quite interesting because, of course, being a part of the creative community for almost a decade, because we turned 8, as I said, with the first business. And just a little bit of a story and a background story about me as well that I should have actually added in the intro is I actually don't have formal corporate experience, right? And when I started the business, I started it so young. I think I was 21 at the time, and I never looked back. And I think also that's just God's grace. But I got to see firsthand that there is, sustainability and reliability in the creative economy, but it's just about how you go about it. So I'm hoping that through this, you guys will get to learn quite a bit. Right, so we're going to go through some stats before we go into it. So globally, the creative economy is worth 2.25 trillion, and this is according to UNESCO. So already, before even going into the jobs and how to do it, it's growing and it's thriving, right? And looking at where the world is going with AI and technology also now growing quite rapidly, it is sort of reinforcing the industry and reinforcing its place in the marketplace, right? So it's quite interesting to see that it's growing so much year on year. And creative fields are growing faster than traditional jobs, as we know. And I think that's why this is actually even a topic, which I think is really great, having an opportunity to speak to graduates at this level to sort of encourage them that there is a creative economy and that it can also definitely, contribute to the GDP of the country and just worldwide as well. So Africa's creative economy is projected to create over 20 million jobs by 2030. And this is according to AFDB, which is quite interesting because there is one aspect of the creative economy on a global scale, and then of course from an African lens. So it's quite encouraging to see, and I thought that it's good to also add this so that even if you're an African creative, there's enough space to go around. And now with also how the change of work and how things are looking in terms of, the future of work, the gig economy, etc., it really does reinforce and sort of validate where we are going. So I found that really interesting as well. So some of the examples of some creative roles that I saw were basically, they are continuing to grow as we sort of proceed into the future. So the first one is digital artists. So digital artists, funny enough, they've always been there, but I think now with the with AI and technology being center stage, it has really brought so much prevalence within this particular role. So we've seen quite a bit of digital artists coming out. I mean, they even are part of the STEM part of things, which is, or STEAM, let me rather say that. And the A is really the arts part. And really, if you think about it, technology, whether it's digital or very technical side of things, it also has a bit of like, critical thinking that needs to be applied, etc. So some of the soft skills already in the creative space can definitely set you off on a good foundation to then, of course, either pivot or create other opportunities for yourself. So I found that really interesting. Then there's the virtual production assistance, which is really great. I think with the growing numbers of podcasts that are being released each and every day, and just content in general, content marketing, content production, it has really created a more, sustainable space, as well as a growing space for these roles. Then we have brand storytellers. This is extremely important as well, because at the end of the day, when it comes to marketing or any form of brand visibility or creating a brand for yourself, you need to tell a story that people can relate to. And because with technology and what happened during COVID, a lot of businesses, of course, now had to sort of be forced into utilizing these tech tools at their disposal to continuously create that top of mind effect for their brands, for the companies, etc. And through that, it really just, catapulted the entire role of brand storytelling and really making it central to just overall, business reputation, brand reputation, etc. So I found that quite interesting and thought I should definitely add this in there as well. Then, of course, content creators. This one is quite obvious. We have YouTubers, we have TikTokers, and with content creators, it's a very broad one, right? So for me, there's a difference between an influencer and a content creator. With an influencer, of course, they've always been there as well, but there has been an evolution through influencing, which I think is now content creation today. And the slight difference here is that with content creators, you're sort of owning your story and owning what you create, right? Whereas with influencers, they're not necessarily owning what they create, or there isn't any ownership of a creation, but it's more around utilizing their discovered audience, to then tell other people's stories on behalf of those brands. So with content creators, it sort of really turns it up a notch, because you now have ownership of content, and that makes you a lot more valuable in the value chain, in my opinion. But influencers also are still very good for certain KPIs or goals that people might have. Then we have podcast editors. As I've mentioned, every day a new podcast is being released, and we've seen quite a lot of opportunity being created when people, of course, whip out a mic and talk about certain things. But there's also been a bit of how do I say, contrasting opinions around podcasts. And I do understand why, because the dissemination of information, it needs to be correct, and it needs to sort of, give off value. But I don't want to look at the doom and gloom side of it, but I think it's just to show that it is now legit becoming a role on its own. And I think it's quite interesting to see. So let's go into what's actually driving the shift, right? Why is this happening? So we're going to look at the key drivers and just two quick examples, right? So the key drivers on our side is, of course, technology, which I've mentioned previously. This is AI, AR, VR, Web3, and automation. So it's a bit like a good stack or mix of technology and digital. Then we have the remote work and digital nomadism. That's also like in the mix. So a lot of us, because of the pandemic and COVID, we're sort of forced to work from home, but productivity still had to happen. So now, corporates and business structures, traditional business structures, had to sort of shift away from the traditional way of working, the brick and mortar business, to now sort of, accommodating remote work. How do we work? How do we create a system well enough to basically allow people to still work as per usual, right? So there's the remote work, then there's also the digital nomadism, right? With this, it's honestly just sort of seeing that through remote work, I don't necessarily have to be in office to actually be productive. So this is when now this started really growing. So no matter where I'm at, if I'm productive, then work is still going to be done. It doesn't matter where I'm based. And that sort of breaks the, traditional norms of how jobs and businesses are being run. Then we have the content and creator economy, or AKA gig economy, which we've seen grow quite sporadically in the last 3 to 5 years. But I think really more extreme, probably the last 2 years or 3 years. So we've seen that you being a creator, content creator, influencer, TikToker, YouTuber, etc., you can create a life for yourself. But with the shift, right, there's also a level of consistency that one must consider, and a level of focus that one must consider, because as much as the creative space is really fun, it's expressive, there needs to be some sort of structure, in my opinion, at the end of the day, for it to be lasting. But the fact that there is an economy that has been developed really does sort of shake up the normal paradigm shift that we've seen through the traditional brick and mortar businesses. Then we have e-commerce and global access, and because now we can sort of virtually access anything now by a click of a button, it also really did a big number on the shift, right? So these are some of the key drivers. Some examples: the rise of Canva gave birth to freelance brand designers globally. TikTok launched creators into full-time careers. The same could be mentioned even for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has really pushed thought leadership, which has then created an extra income for professionals to then, create content on behalf of brands that are sort of, meeting with what their value and principles are professionally. So this is just some of the examples. So I found that quite interesting and thought I should definitely add that in there as well. So before we go into section 2, is there any questions? No questions? I can continue?
Yes, you can continue. I don't see any in the chat box.
Perfect. All right, so top creative jobs of the future, right? So we went into what it is, what the shift
I'm
is.
sorry, there was a hand up.
Problem?
I think there was a hand up from Mangwani.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry, there was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's go ahead swiftly. All right, so we went into a bit of some of the roles, but now we're going to go a little bit more extra on it, right? So we're going to look at some of the top creative jobs of the future. So this is, if you're thinking, or if you are a creative already, but you're thinking about how do I strategize so that I have, sustainability, because the creative industry also can be very wishy-washy. It's very up and down. It fluctuates a lot. So I do understand sometimes why certain people have a level of wariness when it comes to creative jobs. But I think now with the shift and where we're going, I think there'll be a lot more, there's a lot more solidness when it comes to now choosing a creative career or job. So the best thing to do is also look at what are some of the top creative jobs so that you can see how you could either skill stack, learn a skill that complements what this top creative job is. And if not, you could, of course, then decide if you want to study or dedicate that time completely. And the nice thing about creative jobs is that you don't have to necessarily get a formal education. Of course, it is always recommended, but through the creative jobs, it's all about skill stacking as well. So skill is something that's incredibly important when it comes to this particular industry. So first one is the UX and UI designer. I think I'd like to believe most commonly, already acquainted with this type of job. So this is, of course, designing user-friendly apps and websites. Some examples are Figma, Adobe. Some people house it on WordPress, etc. Right? So this particular job is always going to be there. As much as AI and technology have had solutions where you can build a website in 3 minutes, but if you want to create a very nuanced, very particular site, AI won't necessarily be able to do that. So it needs human intervention in that capacity. So UX and UI designers, in my opinion, will always ride the wave despite technology and AI being involved. Another one is a creative technologist. So this one is quite special because this sort of came through because you can only imagine, right? There's so many sets of technologies, AI that's coming out every day. And then there's a level of creativeness that needs to happen in order for you to pair and merge some of this, coding systems to then create very interactive, systems and software. So this is where a creative technologist is, or rather comes center stage. So they merge coding or code, right? Like a normal website or software developer, and then they'll add creativity to then create holistic experiences online. So an example of this would be interactive installations or smart AR mirrors. So this is where virtual reality, augmented reality sort of comes to play. So that was not a job like 10, 15 years ago. So to see this actually becoming a job is quite interesting. And I'd love to actually see more people doing it, because I think this particular job is definitely going to be needed more and more as we evolve into the future. Digital product storyteller. So as you know, with e-commerce and just buying anything anywhere by a click of a button, you need to make sure that you are continuously telling the best digital product story. So now a digital products storyteller becomes very, very key in order for them to create apps and tech products that are emotionally compelling. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we buy is because we buy into the emotions and the story that we relate to in these brands, as opposed to more of the harder stuff like pricing, competitors, etc. If I'm speaking to you in a way where you feel seen, felt or heard, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to want to interact with my app, with my product, etc. So in order to do this very well, there's someone that needs to be dedicated to doing this every day. So some examples would be crafting brand launches like Apple Ads. So Apple has managed to do it quite tremendously, and that's because they have a dedicated person that does this every day, and they're placing their creative knowledge and processes towards building those emotionally compelling tech products or apps. Also, just a quick one, this could also expand over and above apps and tech products. It could even just be actual products that still you need to use digital, like social media or your digital marketing, to still bring that element of storytelling in there. So it's quite broad, right? And I think what I want you guys to also realize is that a lot of these creative jobs of the future, they have a lot of vastness and broadness. They have a lot of trying to find the word. They're broad. Let me rather just say that they're quite broad. So you could find yourself being a podcast producer, but also then overlapping into producing an actual show. So it's not just an end-to-end, production for audio shows like it says here, but you might find that you could create even the content or the story along that. So the nice thing about creative jobs is that it sort of overlaps. And if you skill stack, you can create quite a bit of opportunity for yourself, which brings us to podcast producer, which is quite straightforward. This is end-to-end production for audio shows. A great example would be, brands launching podcasts, and we're seeing that every day with Standard Bank's Thrive, with ABSA's podcast for their She Thrives. So they had a bit of like a section. This was more experiential, a part of really getting eyes on the particular event, and also, of course, getting the ideal customer, which were females in this case, to engage in conversations that really impact them. So we've seen quite a bit of brands doing that, and of course, in general, podcasts, like as a whole, We've seen the value of them. We've also seen the effect and influence of podcasting. So you could then go in there and actually become a producer and then create the end-to-end production experience for audio shows or even video shows, right? So not every podcast has the video, but some just have voice. So it really depends on what you want to do. But like I said, just emphasizing on my previous point, you could decide to do both, where it's audio and video, you know, and even with your customers, they don't just have to be, you know, a standard individual or brand. It can also be a corporate. So the creative spaces is really flexible, and it creates a lot of options or diversifying for yourself. So I think that's quite cool. And then we have the motion designer. So with this one, like I'd mentioned, a lot of the key information that bigger brands are doing, because of course the online space is so key now to, you know, promoting your story, promoting your products, promoting, you know, what your brand alignment is. You find that a lot of the content marketing has to be diversified. So it's either it's a podcast, or it's a social media post, or it is a video, or it is a white paper or article, etc. So all of these content distribution formats need to be created. And this is where now, of course, then the creative industry sort of comes to center stage to actually, you know, provide that. So a motion designer is a person that creates animations for ads, social media, and video content. As I've mentioned, some of the tools are After Effects and Blender. There's a lot more, of course, but I wanted to sort of just keep it nice and short for this particular one. But it's just good to know that if you feel like through this that, I think I want to be a motion designer, then you can always just research more tools, and then you get to understand what your output would be and what it takes to actually become one. So this one is also quite interesting, and this one is very recent, as you guys know. So now there's AI prompt engineers, right? And this is mainly for the creative space. So now think about your branding, advertising, marketing departments, right? That utilize AI on a daily basis to, you know, create, how do I say this? Create a soundboard for their strategies, for clients, etc. So a lot of agencies have noticed, especially those that utilize AI every day and ChatGPT every day, they've noticed that, of course, feeding AI the right prompts will always generate the best results, whether that's designs, imagery, copy, etc. So the only way that this can then continue to create the best results possible, we need to be creating the best prompts for us to then give to the AI to then give us exactly what we're looking for. And through that gap, we realize that this can actually be a job. So we get someone that goes in there and feeds AI the right prompts to generate designs, images, and copy. Some of the tools, of course, as you know, ChatGPT, there's Midjourney, there's DALL-E, and now there's Gemini. Google's Gemini as well. And I don't think it's going to end there. Probably the more we, you know, proceed into the future, there'll be even a lot more tools at our disposal to really take advantage of AI, right? And the more AI grows, the more opportunities also come from it. So a typical example is the AI prompt engineer. So essentially your job is to give AI as many prompts as possible that would then help creative teams, whether that's branding, advertising, and marketing, to then create the best imagery, designs, copy, etc., or whatever that those departments might need, and making their creative process a lot easier. Okay, before we go into some future-proof skills, hard and soft, is there any questions? Okay, no questions, I'll go ahead. All right, so I went into some of the, and guys, by the way, there's a whole lot more jobs.
Sorry,
Yes.
I saw one question. There was
Okay.
one hand up from Retabile.
Okay.
Retabile?
Hello.
Hi, Retabile.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry, but can we kindly get the recording for the meeting because I'm at work and it's somehow difficult to hear each and every point, and I think it would be beneficial for us as students.
I'm sure they can organize that. I think the team will probably do that on their side.
I appreciate that. Can kindly be provided with.
No problem. And I have also provided this presentation, so you can always just go over it by yourself later as well.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Perfect. No other questions before I move on? Okay.
You can proceed. I'm seeing love. Oh, there is Simpiwe again.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, Simpiwe.
Please, guys, don't be shy. Ask questions, please, please, please. Let's try and make this as interactive as possible. Yes, Simpiwe, you can go ahead. Okay, it was a mistake. That's fine. Let's move ahead swiftly. Okay. So then, by the way, with the jobs that I've mentioned, there's a whole lot more, right? I try to just handpick the ones that sort of speak to me and trying to, of course, give a bit of everything. But I think I'm going to also continue. I think there's a bit more jobs, if I'm not mistaken, as we proceed. But there is so many jobs that you guys can start like looking at. And the more curious you are, you'll be surprised that whatever you're thinking or an idea that you might have creatively might already be there. And it might already, exist, but it will probably even exist a lot more prominently as we proceed in the future. So some of the future-proof skills that you can look at, hard and soft, right? So we're going to start with the technical and hard skills. So just from some of the jobs that I've mentioned, it's very important that you also have a good mix of technical as well as soft skills. So people usually have this misconception that creative jobs are easy and anyone can just get into them, etc. Not the case. Certain jobs or certain processes of work, yes, you can get away with it, but certain ones, especially if we're looking at the future jobs and going into AI and data analysis and computing, etc., you can't just wing that. So there's certain hard skills that you need to look at that you can still, of course, do without formal education, but this still stresses that education is still very important and still a very foundational point, even in your creative, job that you decide that you want to go for. So some of the hard skills we'll look at is, of course, visual design. So you need to know Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe. Like, it's very important that you know these things. And the nice thing about this, like I mentioned, you can either go formal route where you go and you study multimedia design, etc., or you can skill stack. And skill stack is now going to your Udemy's, your is it Corsa, I think, yes, and your Google Digital Marketing Garage, etc. All of these little elements that provide these as certificates or diplomas online. So there's still that possibility for you to skill stack. There's video editing, so your CapCut, Premiere Pro, DaVinci, etc. These are also important. So the nice thing about visual design and video editing, the first two that I've put, you can also sort of freelance and self-master these skills. So we've had a few people that would say, no, I went, the formal route and got, a certificate or a diploma or degree, etc. And some say, no, I actually don't have any formal education, but I have a lot of experience. I played around enough. I've sort of done stuff for my family and friends, and that's how I sort of grew the experience, right? So that's the good thing about the technical and hard skills. So you don't have to worry about financial implications, because I also do understand that that's the reality as well. So there is still an avenue to still get those technical skills that you're looking for. UX tools like the ones I mentioned earlier, especially if you want to be a UX designer, you're going to need to, really know how to use Figma, Adobe XD, Notion. This is just some of the tools, and also getting to understand the different website website development softwares like your WordPresses, your Elementals, your Squarespaces, etc. It's very important that you also look at those things and familiarize yourself around them and how to use them. Like I mentioned, a lot of these already are online, and it's just about you taking the time to actually learn them and then, of course, practically applying them. Data visualization and AI prompt writing. With AI prompt writing, of course, it's a very, very fresh new job. We're looking at like the last 2 to 3 years. With this one, there is some stuff that you can get online where you are now, going into how to create prompts. What are the certain codes, way of thinking on how they create prompts, right? And going into the systems of artificial intelligence and seeing how they build stuff. For instance, understanding the open source and open AI tools that are supported by ChatGPT, for instance, or what's being supported, or the code or software that's being supported by Google, for instance, Gemini, etc. So it's important that you go and, of course, do your research and find these. But I do know that with the AI prompting in particular, a lot of it, you get to see that some colleges, and this is more on the global front, really, that I've noticed, of course, are already starting to sort of, roll out that in their schooling system. But it will definitely be a part of artificial intelligence as a whole, so as an entire discipline. So with AI, I also feel like you can learn it on your own to a certain extent, but I feel like a certain form of formal education, whether it's a certificate, skill stacking, or going formally to a reputable organization or institution, will help you a lot. The same applies for data visualization. So with this one, whether you decided to study data science, computer science, etc., this is where you guys get to shine, because already within that degree, data visualization and analytics was already a part of that, right? So it's very important that you get to see where do you go for the hard skills and technical stuff, and where you can say, okay, here, maybe I can sort of find a sweet spot and see how I can get something online, whether it's a certificate or a diploma, etc. So a lot of the stuff, predominantly from a hard and technical skill side, is very much quite flexible. There's certain ways you can go about it, and it's just about you as a person and what you feel like, okay, if I do this, I might just be more reliable, etc. Then it's good. I mean, we also have organizations like Red and Yellow. University of Cape Town already also has quite a elaborate place where they are, sort of promoting these newer, degrees that sort of support where the future is going. So that's just some of the elements as well. Then the soft skills, right? So soft skills, I think before I go into it, I want to just go and re-emphasize what I was talking about previously about the shift, right? So the shift we've also sort of observed is that as much as hard skills and the technical side of things is very important, and looking at traditional setting of work, business, etc., a lot of emphasis was on hard skills. Can you do it? Do you have a degree? Do you have formal education, etc., in order for me to give you this opportunity? But now with AI technology sort of taking away some of these elements that we look at and we look for, right? And now it's sort of re-emphasizing the need for soft skills, right? The need for soft skills. So as much as you might have a traditional background, how adaptable are you? Because now, like, the world is changing, the future is changing. So how adaptable are you to seeing, like, if things change, especially within an industry like AI or technology, where things can change every single day? So adaptability. How are you with your critical thinking skills? This one is so important because it stretches far and beyond just the creative side, but even the technical side within the creative. So that's where you look at, the AIs, the technologies, prompting, engineering, etc. How do we then, how does the soft skills also add on to that creative process of whatever role that you're in, especially on the tech side or digital side of things, right?
Kupon, you are muted.
No, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'm back. Sorry about that. I just needed to move something. Okay, got you. And then, of course, there's emotional intelligence. I mean, at the end of the day, in order for you to create, we can even go back to the example of, yes, the digital product storyteller. Remember that there should be a level of emotional intelligence that you need to have to creatively storytell a product, an app, or a form of technology, right? And remember, with technology, yes, it can sell itself to a certain extent, but it still needs a point of storytelling. And in order to do that successfully, you need to have a good form of emotional intelligence, not just to build something that is intuitive, that can speak to people, but for people to also meet you where you're at, right? If you're going to sell something, you need to make sure that you have that emotional intelligence to connect and also sort of ground yourself to understand, will this product actually help the people that I'm looking for? Would it actually make sense, etc. Then there's cross disciplinary collaboration. This one is extremely important as well, because once you do this, that means that you can successfully collaborate with other people within that creative process of whatever that output might look like, right? And some people, surprisingly, really struggle with this element. I think all of the soft skills that I've put in here seem to be quite a struggle because, like I mentioned, the shift from hard skills being everything to now soft skills sort of coming in to reinforce what you sort of learned from a hard skill perspective is now, everything at the moment. So now it sort of forces people to now reinforce and re-engage with their soft skill side. Am I actually the best person to work with? Am I collaborative? Do I have that level of critical thinking? Is my emotional intelligence high, not just to sell the product, but also work with the teams, collaborating with them successfully and making sure that I am, putting my best foot forward in whatever that collaboration value chain looks like. Then finally, digital storytelling. This will always be a great soft skill to have. How good are you with people and how good are you with telling stories? Because at the end of the day, that is what gets human beings to buy into something. Whether it's a piece of tech or it is a piece of content, it really is about how do you then go take whatever data you learn about the people that you're trying to speak to and create a story that gets them to understand, oh, wow, I actually feel seen in this moment because this has always been my problem. Oh, wow, I didn't even know that this existed, but now I see what the solution to my problem is. So this is some of the soft skills that I would definitely say people should really focus on from a creative standpoint and where jobs are going in the future. But like I said, with hard skills and soft skills, I just handpicked. There's a lot more. I'd actually propose that you guys look at jobs of the future. I think from the World Economic Forum. I will see if I can just try find the link and send it in the chat. But it's basically a very elaborate form where they go into jobs of the future, jobs that are dying right now, and what are some of the skills that you need to consider to sort of thrive in this new future that we're building. Now we go into building your creative stack, right? So this one is also going to be a little bit more interactive as well. So now that we understand, what does it take to be in the, creative space and building jobs for the future? What are some of the things that I need to think about? What are some of the skills, hard and soft, that I need to consider? Now we need to build that actual stack, right? Build that we're trying to build for ourselves to actually create those opportunities, right? That for them to come to us. So so when we talk about creative stack, it's really like a portfolio. Like, why should I choose you for this creative job instead of somebody else? And a lot of the time you find that creatives, they're really good at what they do, but they're not the best in selling themselves, right? So this sort of, I'm hoping, will sort of creates a good foundation for you to then start looking at how do I sell this creativity that I have, my mind and my creative ideas. How do I sell that? So we're gonna do a bit of a mini activity now. So the prompt is to build your creative stack using the categories below. So whether that's Canva, Figma, CapCut, or Adobe, you can do that. But like I mentioned, if you don't know any of these tools, you don't have to do this now, but then at least it will become your homework to then start to know these tools. Especially, this is only for the people that really want to consider the creative side of things. If you don't want to, then you don't have to do this. But for those that feel like, no, I really want to see and try and give this a shot, then you can always just look at these tools. But maybe before I continue, do any of you guys know the tools that I've mentioned so far? You can just indicate with a thumbs up. If not, that's also still fine. Are you guys familiar with any of the tools that I've mentioned so far? Okay, Lebogang says yes. Okay. Okay, so I see a few are familiar.
I see a hand is up from, it's Nazare.
Okay.
Nazare?
Or was it a mistake as well?
I think maybe it was a thumbs up.
Oh, maybe she was trying to say thumbs up. Okay, got you. All right. So it's actually quite a small amount of people that know the tools. So I think that will be your guys' homework. Please, guys, if you, the ones that are seriously looking at, being in the creative space and creating, opportunities for yourself, even now as you go into the working space post, varsity, I would definitely propose that you look at some of these tools that I've highlighted here. And through looking at them, you will sort of start get into now a rabbit hole of other, amazing tools. And there's so many when it comes to even AI. So please, guys, whenever you have a moment, just do that for yourself, and that'll be great. And then some of the platforms to consider when you're building this creative stack. LinkedIn should definitely be there. I think for any graduate, whether creative or not, even if this was just more around just jobs, LinkedIn is such an important platform to be on. I would say almost immediately that you guys start creating some sort of presence or brand or thought leadership, whatever the case is, on LinkedIn. And this doesn't have to look like, oh my gosh, in order for me to be, something on LinkedIn, I need to, work at a big time job, or I need to have this fancy degree. It's not about that. It's about creating content and creating value. And if you can do that, trust me, you will definitely grow on LinkedIn, especially because I do, LinkedIn coaching. It's not about where you went to school, etc. Yes, those things are good, but now, like I said, with the shift and where now it's not the focus is not necessarily on hard skills, but more on soft, they're going to look at the content you create and is it giving value and is it getting people to say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And now because of you, I now know how to do this. That is already a value exchange. So I would definitely say, please make sure that you guys create a LinkedIn profile and be active. Build on TikTok, build on Medium. I'm not too sure if you guys know Medium, but it's basically a place where you can promote some of your articles, especially if you like writing, thought leadership pieces. Medium is great. Then Behance, I think, is more for like the designers, UX designers, website designers, creative designers, animators, just some of the roles that I mentioned there. Behance is a really great tool for you to just centralize your portfolio for people to see. Substack is more like a community of like techies and creatives. This is where you can sort of build, partnerships, networks, so that then opportunities are then being exposed to you on a regular basis, right? And then some of the communities to join, Young African Creatives, this is on Facebook. And of course, there's a whole lot more. Like I said, don't just take what I'm putting here. Let this be your foundation, and then go ahead and get crazy and look at other, communities and platforms. There's AfriLabs, there's the Design Indaba, there's Discord servers, there's LinkedIn groups like Creative South Africa, and there's quite a lot already on Facebook. I know the biggest one at the moment where you even get opportunities is called The Resource. And it's the main one for PR, media, and creative jobs. So this is where people share their CVs or They share a brief, and then of course you need to then go and send some sort of an email or profile, or even a proposal to then see if you could possibly get that job. So this is really important that you create that stack, and do it proactively, do it consistently, because the only way you're going to really see or reap the benefits is by being consistent and being out there.
I'm sorry, Kapan. There was a hand from Retabile.
Okay.
Retabile. And after it's going to be Lee West.
Hi, Retabile, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes.
To check the challenges you faced at the beginning, because I know with TikTok, there's bullying, whatever. So what were the challenges you faced at the beginning, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so I have quite a solid community across. LinkedIn primarily is my top platform. It's personally my favorite because that's where I get the most value from. So there's LinkedIn, there's TikTok, and then of course there's my Facebook as well. Used to be my Instagram, but I decided to utilize my Instagram for more of my personal space. I do believe that as creatives, we do deserve a space where it's just ours. We're not trying to work, we're not trying to impress, we're not trying to overperform, etc. So when I started, I think the biggest thing is, one thing that I would definitely say is, almost immediately, you need to get over criticism. People critiquing your work, saying that, oh no, I didn't find this valuable, or no, you said it this way, but I think you should have said it that way, etc. People are always going to have something to say. And I think more than anything, especially as creatives, because we already critique ourselves before anyone else. So make sure that you don't necessarily take everything that you hear to heart. Take it with a grain of salt. So yes, you need to be open to see how you can improve your work as a creative, and basically taking what that feedback is as data to say, okay, with this video, it performed well, but the lady did ask me a question, and I thought, okay, maybe I need to cover that in my next video, And then there's going to be, typical people, naysayers, oh no, this content is not great, whatever. When you need to take it seriously, when you can see that there was valuable feedback, not just chatter, where they say, oh, I didn't like this video, what a boring video. You just skipped. You just go next. Okay, fine. It was boring for you, but for somebody else, they might have found it valuable. But if it's a comment like, oh, Retabile, I really like this video, but I noticed that you didn't talk about XYZ. That is not bullying or being hateful or whatever. It's actually giving healthy feedback to say, okay, for the next round, I can add this. For the next round, I'll add this element when I'm creating my content, or when I'm within my creative process. So I'd definitely say, when you're starting out, do not feed yourself too much with what people are saying, especially when it's baseless. Only listen when it has value. But things like, I don't like this video, oh, who do you think you are? Ignore it. And I do understand we are people, and especially when we're creatives, because we matter. We love to, we're very sensitive about what we create, and we want people to like it, right? We want people to relate to it, etc. But you need to have a thick skin, in a sense that not everyone is going to like it. And not because it's bad, but because they just have their own baseless reasons that you sometimes would not understand even yourself. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Retabile, I hope it answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much. Because
yes.
That's where they comes, and then the self-esteem and everything else, and then the person end up quitting. Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
No, I understand, but don't be a quitter. Just have the thick skin, especially when you're creative, because you have that form of expression. People are gonna want to know and hear what you have to say. So almost immediately, because of that, you just need to have that thick skin and only take in what matters. So yeah, all the best with that.
We also have Lee West. In addition to that, I think we have 5 minutes left in our session.
Okay, no problem.
West.
So maybe what I can do, Junior, if you don't mind, let me quickly finish off and then we can have a Q&A that way.
Okay.
Is
Yes.
that okay? So guys,
Yes.
please just hold off your questions and then let me finish. I'm almost done and then we can have the Q&A. Perfect. Right, so breaking the graduate dilemma, right? You have no experience, you have no job. What am I going to do? How do I find, how can I become valuable to the job market, right? So I thought this would be good to add on because a lot of you guys are going to now start this journey. So how do we break the loop? First thing is you're going to start a passion project, especially for the creatives. Let's say, for instance, so what I've seen, and it's actually quite an interesting trend I've seen on LinkedIn, where, especially for the creatives, where someone wants to become a social media manager, for instance. They want to manage brands on social media. They love to create the strategy, the plan, the direction for businesses. But now they're stuck and they're just like, I don't have any businesses to sort of do this for. So then what they do is that they just create a brand from nowhere and they'll just share that process with everyone on LinkedIn. Like, hey guys, I created a cafe brand. And you could literally see they'll showcase their strategy, what the socials will look like, the plan, etc. And it's so brilliant because it does not only give you that experience to continuously craft and or sharpen your craft rather, but it also allows you to sort of market yourself as that creative, so that whenever a business needs someone like you, they'll think about you because you just gave free value. You didn't have to go and find a business, etc. You just gave free value almost immediately. So start a passion project. Start, if you want to, like, let's say with the UX designing or with the animations, do it for your friends and family, do it for the church you go to, just do it for people and then build a portfolio in that way. So start a passion project of your own and then make sure you document the entire process and then share it on your LinkedIn network, Substack, or whatever community you're going to be a part of. Volunteer with NGOs. NGOs hardly ever have that type of creative support, right? So you can go there and say, listen, I see that you guys are doing this, which is great, but I see that you guys are not documenting all of these things. How can I come in and volunteer? It may start as a volunteer role, and then they see the value that you give to them. Then they'll end up saying, you know what? We've seen you do this for our past 3 events, and you know, at this 4th event, we want to pay you. That's how it starts, and that's how you break that loop of being a graduate with no experience and you're trying to break in. Then there's freelancing, where you offer your services either on LinkedIn or Fiverr. Fiverr is like Upwork, so it's like a freelance platform where you go in, you create a profile, and then when there's jobs, and it's mainly utilized in the global space, where there's jobs, you can then go and sort of pitch for those jobs. And then participate in hackathons or competitions, collaborate with peers, like be very proactive in creating those opportunities for yourself to showcase the value that you have. Don't wait, create. No, that actually sounds good. Then example, a graduate rebranded a friend's bakery and used that as a portfolio piece to land a job. And it's the example I just said. I've seen a lot of people that trend, especially if people, I'm not too sure how many of you are on LinkedIn already or in the creative, community on LinkedIn, but I'm sure you guys have also seen that trend where they literally just create stuff from scratch and then provide and open. I've seen people create that and then in the comments have a business owner say, hi, this is so amazing. Can I please DM you? I think I might have work for you. And that's because you decided to just create that opportunity for yourself. Building a strong creative portfolio. This is just going back to the creative stack that I was talking about. It just reinforces the point. You need to talk about yourself, your personal story. Why did you decide to go into the creative space? What are some of the projects that you've done, whether it's real or self-initiated? It's going back to what I was saying. So please, when you guys create and you do things for free, don't think, oh, why am I doing things for free? This is a waste of time. It's never. Those things are never a waste of time. It is a stepping stone to get to that opportunity you're looking for. Project descriptions, the goal, the process, and the outcome. So this is where you can sort of describe project one. The goal was for me to create social media pages for this company. They're in engineering, they didn't have a presence. And this is how I did it. I created a Facebook page. I did 1, 2, 3, or 5. That would be the process. Then the outcome was they had no socials to now having socials and to now existing and actually having a digital home of their own. That's just a typical example. Then you have your resume or your skills. And then, of course, you have your contact info and then your link to socials. Some examples would be a personal website that you can do on Wix and Canva. That's what I'm saying, guys. Please, if there's anything, please, please, please go and play around with Canva. Canva is a very powerful tool. With Canva, you can create so many things, multi-purpose platform where you can also create a landing page or website for yourself. Then there's the Behance profile that I mentioned earlier, TikTok or Instagram page, which are showing your content skills, or if you are a thought leader, you're sharing your brain and you're sharing whatever that you need to share on there. So where do you then find these creative opportunities? So you can do this through job boards. So mainly these ones are mainly international, but that doesn't stop you. That's the nice thing about creative work and remote work. It doesn't stop that. Then you see there's Behance, there's also a section for jobs, there's LinkedIn, there's Indeed for the creative roles, there's platforms, freelance platforms that I've just mentioned. Now, other avenues, cold emailing local businesses. If you see that, like for instance, you search plumbing businesses in my area, especially on Google. And if you see that, the nice thing about that, when you search, there's a Google My Business profile, or the profile where you see the websites, the number you can call, etc., etc. Then you find that some of these businesses, they don't have a website. So then you take note of that and you approach them via email. Hey, I noticed that you don't have a website. Can I build a website for you for free? 9 times out of 10, that business owner is going to come back to you and say, yo, this website is great. What else can you do? And this time I'll pay you. You know what I mean? Attending networking events with peers or whatever the case is, joining incubation programs or accelerators is also really, really good. And then positioning yourself on LinkedIn and social media. Make sure that you optimize your profile. And this what this means basically is just fill in every section. Make sure you fill in every section and make sure you fill in what your desires are. What do you want to be good at? Do you want to be a UX person? Do you want to be a designer? Do you want to be a social media manager? Do you want to be a brand manager? Do you want to be a podcast editor? Do you want to be in motion graphics, etc.? And then you show up creatively. Create the content, document your journey, your thoughts, your wins, even your failures to a certain extent, because it will also create a level of realness and authenticness in your content. Engage with other people, your peers, even people that you look up to. You never know how a partnership or collaboration comes about. And when you direct message people, direct with purpose, introduce yourself, ask for advice, or go in there with an offer. Don't just say, hi, how are you? Thank you so much. Like, think about it when you do these things. This action plan activity, because I've sent it through to the team, they will send this through to you guys, and you can do this as homework as well on your side. And that's about it. This is where you guys can reach me. Should you have any questions or any assistance on your journey, I'm here to help. And then I think we can quickly close off with some questions, Junior, and then we can take it from there.
Yes, thank you so much. I see Lee West is back with this question. Yes, Lee West.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Hello. Since I'm good, thank you. And you?
Good.
Since we've been talking about platforms and promotion, I was wondering what your opinion is on Pinterest, and do you know if it's effective for product promotion, and if it's a platform worth spending time on?
Very good question. So Pinterest is great for industry-specific offerings, right? That's what I've seen through my experience. So if you know that your whatever you're offering is more towards, construction, architecture, where I can look at something visually, or even sometimes to a certain extent, luxury products, right? So I think Pinterest is definitely a platform to sort of utilize, but in my experience, I feel like it's a little bit more industry specific, and it's more around showcasing the visual side of things. So I would say you can definitely give it a squeeze, but just make sure that you do your research in depth and correctly before, putting too much budget into the platform to promote.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Any more other questions?
I don't see any.
Okay, perfect. And I think that sort of gets us to the end of the session, Junior. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
But thanks to you, a big thanks to you for that insightful and practical session. I think we can all agree that you've given us very powerful tools to take our ideas to the next level. But thank you so much.
Perfect, guys. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it. I think all the best for all the creatives. Please, guys, take all the stuff that I've put out there. It is possible, and all the best to you guys.
Thank you. To our audience, I think now we'll take a break. Our next session will be at 1300. So let's stretch a bit, and we'll come back at 1 o'clock. Thank you, guys.
Perfect, guys. Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.